what is this outrageous? You've teased it the entire show. What is this bet for your bronze pick?
It's not even that outrageous. It's just stupid would be the word that comes to mind.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog right now will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. So I would recommend that you go do that at Underdog Fantasy right now. Best bets, Players Championship. We've already talked outrights, and I'll have all of the final bets, weather waves, everything you need, 9 a.m. Eastern, Wednesday morning, live with Tyler Tambolini, breaking all of that down. But today, we're going through the best bets to make the cut. Top 5s, top 10s, top 20s, whatever random markets are out there, we are going to rank them. The gold, the silver, and the bronze. Joining me on the line to do this, first up, co-host of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, which you just watched last night on Mayo Media Network, from South Africa, Byron Lindeque. Were you fired up for that guy in Puerto Rico who was a South African amateur?
Never heard of him. I think I was 10 when he was born, so congrats to him. South Africa's starting to pump out some talent and some high upside talent, so we got some good things coming. It's a good thing for the country for sure.
Listen, you were the trendsetter. You came over to go to college in America to play golf. Now they all want to come over.
Hey, I had to crawl so someone could sprint, and I think Aldrich was doing that for a while until a Tarzan cartel struck us there in Mexico, but all's good, Pat. All things are going to balance themselves out here shortly.
From oddshopper.com and Stokastic, it is Ben Rasa. Sir, it has been a while since we've spoken.
I know. I don't even remember the last time. We were talking about a lot of weird stuff on the last show that doesn't narrow it down. But, yeah, players, man. I'm excited to be back. March Madness. It's a great time. One of my favorite times of the year. So, very excited to talk through this.
Ben will also be with me live Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time for the annual March Madness bracket show. So be there. Morency's on with us, so you know it's going to be a fire show. Smash like and sub to the channel while you are here. Byron, let's just jump into this. How do you do at the Players Championship historically? Because me, not so hot.
I do historically as long as Cam Smith is playing it, so that's my kind of thing. I also had a Paul Casey top 20 plus 500 a while ago. So I've had some relative success at this venue. But again, like anyone can miss the cut here no matter who you are. So it's kind of one of those weeks where you just got to kind of run hot.
Ben, how about you with the players? Like, is it as big of a taker for you as it is for me?
Yeah, it's hard. I had one good opportunity. Of course, it completely dovetails with what you just said. Like the year Lahiri almost won, which was the Cam Smith year. I had things going on, and I believe that Ram is still on the course trying to finish his round because he shot about 90 on that round 4. So no, the players, we all know it's a high variance event. There's water everywhere. You need the bounces, and that makes it interesting. It also makes it frustrating, but it's still one of my favorite tournaments of the year. I love Sawgrass like everybody else.
And honestly, the past 2 years, since the Cam Smith year, Scheffler's just won back-to-back years. So the outright market has been pretty dried up unless you bet Scheffler, which I certainly know that I did not, and most people did not because of those odds. So these are the actual values that you have to go hunting for. So Byron, do you have anything cooking up?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I've got a ladder for my bronze bet, which I'll tease the people with for a little bit, but you know what? Let's go Doug Gim off the top rope, plus 120, top 40 Gim Reaper. This man had one of his best days of ball striking not so long ago. I think in the Cognizant, I think he gained like 6 strokes on approach. He is dialing in his irons really, really nicely right now. And he tends to play really well at the Players in the past. And I was looking at his approach metrics and how the Cognizant compared to previous rounds for him. And one of his best rounds on approach has been at the Players as well. So we've got a bit of form, we've got a bit of course history for Doug Gim, and the top 40 is kind of where he finds himself in his happy place there for sure.
Ben, I didn't want to make too many wagers before I saw the weather report. Not that it's going to save me from losing money, but it might save me from losing a lot of money this week. And as you may have seen, Ben, that I have a lot of money to lose after last weekend, so I don't want to give it all back at this moment. So I'm going to go with the top 20 market. I also bet this guy outright to win. I bet him as a part of a top 8 along with that, which will pay substantially more than this. But I am going to take, unless they've opened, you know what? Now I need to see if they've opened up the top Canadian market. I don't see it as of right now. I'm going to take Nick.
I know who this is.
I'm going to take Nick Taylor plus 375 to come inside the top 20 of the Players' Championship. Has he ever done this in the past? The answer would be no to that question. But he has gained over 4.5 strokes on approach in 3 of his past 4 turns at the Players. And honest to God, Ben, I just think he's a better player now.
He's sitting, I see plus 400 top Canadian. So
let's do that. Let's do that instead. Yeah. Let's go Nick Taylor, top Canada, plus 400.
There it is. And yeah, man, I get it. I saw, what you put out, and I saw he was on the outright card, and yeah, congratulations, Crazy Carl. I saw you and everyone else in the world had him, so good job. I'm fine with Nick Taylor. He might weave his way into my betting card.
Byron,
he's hitting his irons as well as Doug Gim is right now. What has happened to his irons all of a sudden? He's just like a freak on the sheets there on approach nowadays.
Unfortunately for Nick Taylor is that any time that he gets himself into contention, he can win. That's why I like him as the outright winning bet. The problem is it goes like the other way for him a ton of times too, where he'll have all of these great tournaments in a row and then he'll just completely no-show, which is always on the table, especially at any tournament that has a lot of strong players.
Yes, that's the case. But I mean, you're getting really solid odds. I mean, how many other Canadians are there in the field right now? And from an outright perspective, I mean, he's like 120 to 1. So, you're not investing that much.
No, you're not. And listen, he's 165 to 1 at some spots, which is just even better. Yeah. The Canadians that are in the field, because I actually how many Canadians do you think are in the field, Byron?
Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes. Yeah.
There's 7.
Ben Silverman? 7. Wow.
Connors, Pendrith, Taylor, Hughes, Hadwin, Svensson, and Ben Silverman.
Okay, I got Ben there. All right.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to change it back to plus 375, top 20 for Taylor.
Yeah, there's a lot of Canadians.
Yeah, there's more Canadians than I thought. And weirdly enough, I don't know why I feel this way, Ben. I like Hadwin and Pendrith both at this course in particular.
Yeah, it's funny. Just even looking at the market, Silverman's a little down there, but I wouldn't be that stunned if any of them specifically played pretty well. It's not where you're like, oh, there's a couple guys here that have like no equity. I actually think that's a pretty balanced market. So I get it. Yeah, that's actually more competitive than I expected it to be.
Do you do much research into these nationality markets, Byron?
Not necessarily, because I don't really have a way to kind of plug it all in easily to my models, because I need to make sure that I've always said, I made the model, so whatever it tells me to bet, I can bet or I won't bet. I don't have to bet it, but I don't usually bet anything that it doesn't tell me to bet, if that makes any sense.
I think that makes a ton of sense. One that's opened up right now, just scanning through the nationality markets, and I don't exactly know how to put this information to good use, but Steven Jaeger has been really bad at the Players' Championship over the years. This is not really a great course for him. Now watch him win, in my mind, because he relies so much on scrambling ability, like more difficult, longer type courses, I feel like are really good for him. He's not a great driver of the ball. He's better on distance than he is with accuracy. So in the top German markets, the German right now, you have Jaeger at minus 138, but Matty Schmidt, who actually does awesome at P-Dye courses, coming off a hot Sunday in Puerto Rico, is even money to beat him, straight up.
Boom. I love that.
Yeah,
fade him. I think it's not the best course for him at all. You need a big bomber's paradise, and this ain't it.
Now, so Ben, we've given out 2 golds. Top 20, Nick Taylor for me. Doug Gim, top 40 for Byron. What do you got for a gold pick?
All right, for the gold pick. So I'll go. This is good. I'm glad you said that because I was about to give an absolutely stupid pick. I'll save that for bronze. I'm going to go with Tony. And then I say Tony Finau. I'm going to go with Tony Finau, top 20. Top 20. So we have some room here. There's a plus 260 out there. Listen, Finau, I don't really understand what went on that par 5 on Sunday. He made quite a number, but there were moments of the game looking pretty good. And on the whole, I actually think that he's poised to play pretty good. He was good at Genesis, and the off the tee numbers are fine. And I think that's pretty generous for a top 20. You need to. It's a large field. We know that. but par fives, you take advantage of them, keep it out of the drink, and you're giving me almost 3-1. So I do think Finau is going to play well. I'm not sure I'm going to put him on the outright card, but a top 20 at plus 260 is something I'm really comfortable with.
I had Finau on the outright card for API. He's like, oh, he's fifth place going into the final round. He is 4 strokes back, but maybe he can make that up. All he needs is like a hot putting performance because he just wasn't making anything. Not new to Tony Finau by any stretch. Yeah, then he makes a 7 on a par 4, just can't chip it from wherever the hell he was at. Then he chipped in from the water on 17 or 16. Something stupid. Just like, of course. He has 1 foot in the water, didn't even take his shoe off to put it in the water, and he chips in. That's classic Tony Finau stuff. However, 5 of the past 6 years at the Players' Championship, he's actually gained putting, which is shocking for him.
And I hope there's something to that. I mean, I don't particularly equate him as he's an anti-Bermuda guy, but you know what? Sometimes a certain course like that, I do, like I said, the game is in pretty good shape, and the depth of the field is always a blessing and a curse because you get really generous numbers on these guys because of all the other good players. And so I'm going to be banking on Finau to at least put up a respectable performance.
Byron, let's talk about the course a little bit. Obviously, Sawgrass, it's switched to being played in March in 2019 since we've seen Rory, Justin Thomas, Cam Smith, Scottie Scheffler, the best of the best, end up winning at the Players. Does that strike you as odd, considering, as Ben had mentioned before, there's so much variance at this course?
It's a bit of both because you've got so much variance, but you've got so many good golfers in the field as well. So like the law of averages kind of finds its way to the winner's circle, so to speak. When you are playing well, you still have to play very well to win this tournament. It demands a lot of good shots from you, some good course management, and a well-rounded game. You know, you can't just be a bomb and gouge type guy here. You have to have all aspects of your game playing well. So typically well-rounded golfers should win this event. I was looking at a bunch of guys in the hundreds this morning, and I decided, what are you even doing? You're just clicking names because you got nice odds. The best guys have been winning this bad boy for the last little while. So you got to probably pay attention to the top of the board a bit more this week.
Yeah, I believe that too. So like right now, I'm gravitating towards Ludwig being my bet at the very top, Ben. But I probably want to take like 3 guys. I want to take 3 guys sub 50-1, but there's not that many players sub 50-1.
No, there's really not. And it is true, as much as it's so enticing when you have a bigger field and you have names that are solid players and you're like, oh my God, I'm used to betting this guy at 50-1. He's 150-1. There's a reason for that. And it doesn't mean it's impossible, but I've been trying to contain myself from just jamming all the regular slappies at like triple their odds because Scheffler and Rory, Morikawa, and some of these guys, they're up top for a reason. And I do think we're going to see it's not a hot take. We're going to see someone with a lot of trophies already in the cabinet taking this one down.
Did you just say Colin Morikawa's at the top for a reason?
Well, he's still, maybe he's recovering. I needed him badly yesterday, so don't even go there.
So
how many times I hope one of you had Henley, because I certainly did.
I did not.
I had Henley at the cog, so I feel great.
It's so frustrating.
It's funny, all the stuff that, all the crap that Morikawa is dealing with coming off of not winning at Bay Hill is usually the stuff that Rory deals with. But it's just funny to think about it in the context that everyone's just pissed off at Morikawa again. I think it's his 6th second-place finish over the past 12 months. And you think, like, a lot of people would bet Rory last week, too. I mean, Rory just choked away the tournament. It didn't even take him to the 16th hole to get beat. He was just out of it by the 4th hole, Byron. But that's no problem.
Rory decided, I'm having a career start to my year. I've just won out in Pebble Beach. I'm going to change my driver and woods randomly at Bay Hill, where driving the ball and hitting your long woods into these greens on the par 5 is paramount. I'm going to completely use brand new stuff and lose strokes off the tee for only the 2nd time since the Players last year. So I was a Rory backer last week. I'm very familiar with what he was getting up to. Not ideal, but these guys are so dumb. I don't understand why they try and why do they continue to try and please these brands and the people that sponsor them with new clubs? Just pull like PXG, rock the TaylorMade head cover, but use whatever driver is going to make you play the best. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense where these guys continue to test things at important times of the year.
Well, maybe they're like, hey, Rory, here's $1 million. Use this driver. He's probably like, sure, why not?
It's $4 million to win the API. So, you got to pick and choose your battles there. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Pat.
don't overlook that guaranteed money. And I didn't even have to play with fake cover hits. PXG did give me clubs. I'm going to Pinehurst, Byron, in 2 weeks. Can't wait to tell. I've been hitting these PXGs at the sim, and they're so good.
That's super exciting. Are you playing number 2, Pat? The OG?
Yeah. We're not playing it day one, though, because I haven't played in 6 months. So playing it on day one might not be. It's not going to go well either way. But if it's the first time I've actually played like a competitive round, I mean, it's not competitive, but like with friends for money, I don't think I want it to be at number 2.
Absolutely. I think that's a good move. How many times are you playing this on that trip?
We got 5 or 6 rounds in, I think.
Oh, nice. That should be a good time.
So we got number 2. So we're trying to bang off as many of the 10 as possible. So I think we were going to play number 10 as well. I remember Rick played it last year when I was down at the Wyndham, and he said it was awesome, like the new one that they have up. So I'm going to go with that one. The other thing that I wanted to ask you was actually about API stats. When I was looking for it, I do want to have accurate drivers on my team this week. I just think it's a path of least resistance a lot of the time, and some of the bigger hitters might club down, improve their accuracy. You never know what guys are going to do, but playing from the fairway, big advantage, not in the water. That's the big key here, with 17 holes of water for the players to go into. But the API driving numbers, especially when it pertains to accuracy, Byron, I think you can kind of throw them out.
Do you really think so? I mean, Henley, Connors, Colin, Keegan Bradley, Seb Straka, Shane Lowry, those are all very, very accurate drivers. And I think it makes a lot of sense. To hit those fairways, you got to have your game going. So it should translate quite nicely. Why do you think you want to throw it out, Pat?
Because let's take someone like Lowry, for example, when it comes down to it. Because I had the same impression that you did. You know who lost fairways versus the field? Russell Henley, Michael Kim, Seb Straka, Shane Lowry. All guys that you would expect to be in the highest percentage of fairways hit, but they weren't.
Okay, but if you're missing a fairway and being in the first cut, I mean, we got to remember that a smidgen here and there, I mean, you could be where Rory was and hitting it behind a tree stone dead after trying to drive the 10th hole par 4 and having to chip out twice in a row. So I think Henley was probably missing in the right spots, maybe.
Sure, but
I get what you're saying.
But when you start thinking about some of those guys like Lowry, Straka, Henley, you think of them as accuracy players, not distance players. But when you put them at a course like Bay Hill, they kind of have to get amped up to hit it a little bit farther. Like they have to try to generate more power, more distance, and it does take away from their accuracy. Whereas you get to a course like Sawgrass, that's just not going to be the case for them. They don't have to amp it up off the tee. They just have to hit it down the center.
Yeah, I'll give you a tip of what I was researching at some point. And Brian Harmon, some of his best off the tee numbers happen at Sawgrass because I think he's just piping driver when everyone's hitting 3-wood. So that's a very good point too there.
Yeah, so that's why I was thinking about, like, when I'm thinking about accuracy numbers, some of the shorter hitters that you would associate with accuracy more, Ben, at Bay Hill and even at Torrey Pines. Like when you get to some of the really long courses, they're just not it doesn't fit into their usual game plan where a course like this would.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And then obviously there's the, it's such a fine line here because last week or many courses, for example, if you miss the fairway, you got to get lucky and you might be blocked, you may not. If you miss some of these, you're in actual water. So it's just the line of punishment is so severe. And so with that, again, it's increased variance, but it's also an emphasis on you have to stay out of it. It's just too hard to combat that.
Daylight savings came into effect March 9th, and now is the perfect time to optimize your morning routine now that more sunlight is greeting you in the morning. How is AG1 helping you shake off any lingering morning grogginess and fully embrace those brighter mornings? How does AG1 and the taste of it set the tone for a longer, productive, more energized day? Well, it's easy. You get up in the morning and you take the Pat Mayo recipe. You put in about 3/4 of a cup of water, top it off with a little orange juice, then boom, scoop of AG1, shake that up. I even put some protein powder into it too if I'm lifting that day to make sure that I hit my protein needs along with all of the extra nutrients that I'm getting into my body, and boom, my gut feels great, I got a ton of energy, and I'm ready to take on the day. When it comes to my health, I want something I can trust, and that's why I choose AG1. With science-backed ingredients and real benefits I can feel, AG1 makes it easy to support overall wellness every day. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so long. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/mayo to get this offer. That's drinkag1/mayo to start your new year on a healthier note. Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime force, and playoffs on the line golf with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. The playoffs are here Monday, March 17th. 1 seed LA versus 4 seed New York at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Then Tuesday, March 18th, 2 seed The Bay against 3 seed Atlanta at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN+. Tune in to catch all TGL playoff action. Keep up. It's golf. Silver picks for the Players' Championship. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who watches the show. He's a friend of the show. And Ben, he is playing the best golf of his career and maybe some of the best golf on tour at the moment. You can still get Michael Kim right now, 3-1 for a top 20. I shall be taking that.
It feels like a situation where it's honestly just buy until something changes right now. Because every week, this may last one more week, but it also might last another month. And by the time it regresses, you may have banked a lot of money just blindly backing this guy. He was awesome again last week, and what's there to say? He's playing, you mentioned it, he's playing that well right now. It's crazy.
What do you make of it, Byron? Because I spoke about Michael Kim to Jeff on the betting show, and he's in this like 80-1, 85-1 market with like Aaron Rye and Will Zalatoris. But when you see his name next to some of these guys, like he's 5 points behind Victor Hovland on the outright betting board. And obviously he's playing way better than Hovland, but everyone would kind of say, Victor, once he gets it back together, he's a top 5 player in the world. It doesn't seem like anyone is taking Michael Kim seriously at all.
No, the long-term pedigree obviously is not there for Michael Kim. I mean, I think they said, was it 98 straight missed cuts that he had after winning the John Deere or something like that? I mean, the resiliency there is incredible, but we haven't had a win from him yet. So I think that's where the disrespect is coming from. Although the recent form, you cannot even use course history anymore for Michael Kim. If he played badly somewhere, it doesn't necessarily matter because he's a totally different golfer right now. And it's like a full complement of skills. It's just an incredibly well-rounded game. And the numbers are right. Not right. They are incorrect. I like those numbers a lot, Pat. 90, 3-1 to top 20. Boom. Let's go. I'll be joining you.
Yeah, and I was even thinking about playing it up to top 10, but I don't want to get too greedy on this one. And I sent him a DM after API. I mean, it's a big payday for a friend of the show, Michael Kim. And he's just like, you going to win the Players? He's like, I hope so.
I mean, he's playing the best he's ever played. Why not? Why not him?
Well, and I even asked him, it was just like, hey, you've played like 5 weeks in a row, maybe 6. Like, if you keep putting up these like high-end performances, do you just keep playing until it stops? He's like, I hadn't considered that, but maybe.
Never get up from the table when you're on a heater like that. Honestly, like why change anything? Just keep playing because the wheels could fall off at any time for him. But at the same time, why not just keep going?
But the wheels are on a Lamborghini, so I mean, let them fall off. It's all good. Things are going well.
But what if they are? What if this, like, he's dramatically increased his swing speed? Obviously, this draw that he's hitting is just working for him. He's working with Joe Mayo on this, like, new angle of chipping Byron. And since he's made that switch with Joe Mayo, he's been, like, the best around green player on tour. Like, maybe he has just leveled up and no one wants to admit it.
I mean, he's very talented. So I think, he's got the Joe Mayo on the swing side, the Pat Mayo on the social media side. I mean, he's probably putting Mayo on his BLTs. So he's probably got it figured out, Pat. You got to find what works for you. And he's probably leveled up. I think you're right.
So this becomes the ultimate conundrum. It's not so much in the betting market. Obviously, 3-1 top 20. Love that. I'm locking that in as a silver pick. But Ben, I know that you and Byron, and you especially, really like to play a lot of money on the DraftKings DFS game, where Michael Kim is 5,900 this week. Is he going to be the most selected player on DraftKings?
He's going to be. Yeah, that's going to be a bigger problem for me. Because just I mean, first of all, the dynamic pricing changes it, but yeah, when you have a guy that low, he's going to be an anchor of a lot of lineups. Now, in cash, you clearly are going to do it, but the game theory of how popular he'll be is going to be fascinating. Because again, I hate to keep bringing this up, we're still talking about a course where if you have 3 water balls and they all happen to be on Thursday and Friday, you're not around for the weekend. And that's always an interesting dynamic with a chalk guy sub 6.
Yeah, I wrote about the historic performance of players, Byron, in my newsletter and on X. If you go and retweet my article on X right now, it's pinned to my account at the PME. You just simply retweet it. You get into a draw for $200 cash. Make it that easy for you. I'm also giving away $500 to cash and a free year of Fantasy National to 2 of you lucky people out there. If you smash a like to this episode right now, you sub to Mayo Media Network, and in the comments section, give me your favorite top 10 bet of the week, or hell, even a top 20 bet, a top 10 or top 20, the best odds that you would feel comfortable betting on that. You put that in the comment section, you get in that draw for $500, you retweet the column, you get in the draw for $200. But what do you make of the $5,900 price tag on Michael Kim? Like, I want to play it, but if this gets up to like 25% ownership for a $5,900 player, and obviously I'll talk this through more with Tambo, there are other guys at that price point, Byron, that aren't necessarily dissimilar, even statistically and performance-wise over the past 2 months, that it just almost seems like a blind pivot.
You almost have to, depending how big the contest is. But I think the smaller it is, the more people are going to want to put him in there as the safe box. So 5,900 is an egregious price. It kind of reminds me of the time when Wu Lee was priced in a similar range after finishing second at the Cognizant and then heading to Bay Hill. And everyone is like, how could DK do this to us? You know, they're completely ruining the game. Well, I like it at the players, because I can tell you now I probably won't be playing him, because I think we could see in the 20s for sure. He's just playing too well, and everyone's going to be speaking about him. He's going to be popped up, and this is TPC Sawgrass, baby. There's 17 water holes, so anything could happen.
So let me give you some comparable guys in my modeling at the same price point as Michael Kim right now, or below. So just $100 lower, Joe Highsmith is $5,800. Your guy, Doug Gim, is $5,600. Alex Smalley is, where is Alex Smalley? I just had him, $5,400. Joel Damon is $5,100. He's playing some good golf right now, so there are other options down there. Even Matty Schmidt, who I mentioned, is $5,300. I don't know if you necessarily even have to go into this range. If you want to go Scottie and someone else at the top, you probably do need to, but I do think that there are, at least DraftKings-wise, other options that you can take.
Jake Knapp, he's right there. I mean, he's been playing well too. So absolutely, I think you spot on. Joel Damon's $5,100. He's had like 2 top 12s here in the last 5 years. So little sneaky option there at 51 if you're in the mood.
And in the short-term modeling, Ben, he's 7th in the model over the past 24 rounds. And that includes names like Scottie Scheffler, who are also in this mix. It's not just he's the 7th best of the worst guys. He's just 7th best overall.
Yeah, it just shows the depth of the field. These are real names. And that just makes, the pivot. It's not that he needs to play like well. It's also he has to outscore these guys. And these guys, there's going to be 5K players that play well.
Well, let's have a silver pick, Byron.
All right, silver pick. Everybody's golden boy. What on earth happened to him on Saturday? I have no idea how he lost 6 strokes on approach or whatever.
Oh, I do. I watched the round. I know exactly how it happened.
Okay. So tell me, Pat, am I in trouble betting Ludwig for a top 10 at plus 170, or was that Saturday round a bit of an anomaly?
It was a bit of an anomaly. He got a bad case of the SADS going, and it felt like he's at the point now. The problem with the top 10, I don't know if this is going to be sticky over time, but it felt like when he got himself out of it on Saturday, he just kind of gave up on, a lot like Justin Thomas on Sunday. Like the moment he wasn't able to make the run early, he's like, fuck it, I'm out. And just like hitting the ball around. Like the approach shot he hit on 18, Ludwig this is, on Saturday. It's like he didn't even try to get the club on the ball and just like hooked it into the water 50 feet in front of him. That's where the majority of, he didn't play well all day, but that whole hole in particular is really where his stats went downhill. So if you just throw out like the outlier shot, maybe those stats look a little bit different. But I think that he's going to win this week, so I have no problem. If he's going to win, he'll finish inside the top 10.
I love it. Give me that high upside. Technically, his best market for me is inside the top 5. He typically does the best in that market if you're looking at returns over a long period of time. But, since it is a show that we're trying to give out a pick that can win, I'm in the mood to go at plus 170, just, water it down a little bit there to give the people a bit more of a sweat, which will be a fun time. I mean, he's a great course fit and showed up quite nicely in his debut last year, playing some great golf outside of Saturday in Bay Hill. And we can hope for the best there from old Luddy.
Ben, did you know that you were signing up for a show where we're trying to give out picks that actually win?
I was about to say, I need to rework my bronze pick. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know. This seems good for me, bad for you. I have the same pick. I have the exact same pick.
Ooh.
And I will say there's a plus 210. Dead heat rules apply, but there's a Ludwig top 10 at plus 210 out there.
Ben, how do you manage dead heats versus tire spacing full?
Yeah, that's always an interesting question, especially with like a field like this. I honestly don't have a great answer. If the number one thing I'd say to people is know what the book you're betting on is doing, because a lot of times I get people that say, "Oh, I found such a better number," and it's like, well, what are ties doing for you, especially with a market like top 20 or top 40 where there's going to be a ton of players. But we are in synergy. That is I have 3 picks written down. A Bear top 10 plus 210.
Do you like him?
What could go wrong?
Do you like him more than Morikawa as a top 10? Obviously, you've bet him. He has a better number than Morikawa. But if I was trying to rework it in my mind, I know Morikawa doesn't have the top end results here, Ben, but a top 10 with the way that he's playing right now seems like pretty good.
Were you seeing like plus 150?
He is top 10 plus 170.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I no pushback there. Again, that's where I have to wrestle with, internal of like, oh, this guy's killing me. I can't do it. And it's like, yes. Or if he finished runner up by not melting that lead, but just playing well on Sunday, the whole narrative would be so different with Morikawa. And I think the buzz would be a lot more positive. You just feel like you got stolen from last week instead of he's still playing really good golf on the whole.
How do you...
The thing with Colin Morikawa...
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Round 1, strokes gained. I don't have the exact numbers. I tweeted out, but 2.5 strokes gained in round 1. Round 2, 1.3, 1.5 for round 3. Round 4, plus 0.05. Depending on how you kind of metric it over the last couple months, it could be negative, and he lost negative strokes again in round 4 when it mattered. So he just seems to lose his mojo. He doesn't believe in himself on a Sunday. And this is for the last 14 months. So he's got the golf to contend, but I just like Colin Morikawa in majors, in all honesty. I don't know if I'm going to mess with him in any sort of tournament. That's not a major.
What about a 5th major?
Hey, if you want to spin that wheel, you can spin that wheel. I don't mind it.
I would be curious to know a bit more about the context of those numbers that you're talking about. Like if you go to fantasynational.com/Mayo, get yourself the 20% off right now. You can just click on the round 4 filter. It'll filter everything out for you. But do you think that Morikawa, like obviously, listen, you've played high level golf, Byron. If you're in contention to win something, how much harder does golf get?
It depends where you are. Because some people thrive on that. They kind of zone in even better. When you are playing well and in the mix, you are like hyper-focused. And if you're an absolute competitor like Colin Morikawa was coming out of college, you dominate. But if you kind of get the Sunday scaries going on, you get a bit of doubt in the back of your head, some scar tissue from prior Century Tournament Championship debacles, things can, kind of hit you in the back of the head there on the way out. So I think he's kind of dealing with some bugaboos right now, and you could almost see it coming. Like he just completely deflated down the stretch. Needed to hit the fairway on the par 5. He led the field in accuracy the whole week, but couldn't hit a fairway that was paramount. Then he had a layup, made par, So when Henley chipped in for eagle, that pretty much lost him the tournament, in my opinion. So he's just not executing when it matters right now.
Yeah, he even hit some very poor iron shots at the beginning of the round, which is very atypical for him. But Ben, I guess the point I was trying to make is Morikawa has been in either like the final group, second or third final groups at majors and all these high-level tournaments over the past 14 months, that he's always playing these pressure-packed fourth rounds. And obviously you would hope at some point he would be able to become through over that time if you were having an outright bet on him. But his fourth round metrics versus some guy who's in like 30th place coming into the fourth round, I think, I don't know how you weight them differently, but they feel like they should be different.
Yeah, there's an unquantifiable aspect to it, to Byron's point of like, some people, they thrive, but honestly, it can be the same person and it's a mindset thing. If you're coming in and it's not again, one thing goes wrong and it leads to three things going wrong and there's a melt, you do see that. I just think it's just how you frame the data. You can look at a lot of what Morikawa is doing and still be really encouraged. And then there's some undeniable things that you're saying. There is just something right now that when the lights are the brightest and some of these things are magnified, it does seem like he's not at the height of his powers, which we know is elite level golf.
What do you make of that, Byron? Because I know it's like data-wise, it is impossible to separate. I guess you could say if you play at any of the final 4 tee times, show me this, but then you've just really watered down that sample because there's only so many fourth rounds.
Yeah, well, it's an eye test thing as well because we are watching him when he's in contention. So what the stats also back up is putting is binary. When he's a good ball striker off the tee, you can miss the fairway to the middle by like a couple inches. You're still in the fairway. You've hit the fairway, even though you're off by a couple degrees. Same with iron, same with chipping. But a putt is either in the hole or it's not. And Colin Morikawa's putter under pressure, I mean, wow. That putt on 18, when he needed to make it to kind of potentially make Henley miss his to get into a playoff, butchered it. And then when it was completely out of the mix, he made that big long putt coming back. So just looking at his putting stats in those kind of moments, it's really where he deteriorates the most. I was doing a deep dive on him this, so that's why I know all this stuff. But it's really interesting, and to me, it's just got the Sunday scaries right now, and he's going to have to show us that he doesn't have that before we can really back him.
Would you feel more comfortable backing him as first round leader?
Yes, absolutely.
Ben, is there anyone on your radar just off the top of your head, first round leader wise?
Finau, but that's just another like debacle of epic proportions.
Yeah, I can't really think.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Scottie Scheffler leads the field in strokes gained round 1. When was the last time he led a golf tournament after round 1?
Oh boy, Masters 3 years ago?
No. What was it? Was no.
Then I don't know.
The Charles Schwab in 2022 with like 5 other people.
Really?
He has the best round 1 strokes gain metrics since 2022. He's only had 1 first round lead. It's incredible. Like, I don't understand how that's the case, but he's just so consistent. He's finished second so many times, but never been in the lead outside of that Charles Schwab. And I think you got to go back to like the Butterfield Bermuda for his only other PGA Tour first round leader.
So I just sorted past 12 first rounds on tour. Maybe I could go a bit deeper. There is a tab on Fantasy National called Spike Percentage. So I've set it to spike percentage over 4 strokes gained total in first rounds. Then you start to put it out a little bit more just to see some guys who do spike up a little bit more. Scheffler drops from first to third. Henley is actually the best player outside of Alex Noren, who's not playing in this tournament with his torn quad and torn glute band. RIP Alex Noren. I feel bad for you.
It's a tough scene. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not used to, again, 6 golfers is going to be tough for me. I'm used to only having to worry about 5 at this tournament. So yeah, get healthy, my favorite Swede.
How much money do you think that has saved you, him being out?
Oh, a lot of money. A lot of money, yeah. But I mean, I replaced it with like Bez and some of these other guys, so I'm not sure, honestly.
So if we do, let's say, 5 strokes gained on the field total, Byron, past 24 rounds of all first rounds on the PGA Tour, Xander, Russell Henley, and Hayden Springer are your 3 best players.
Spring loaded out the gates and then completely just uncoils after that. It makes a lot of sense. Who's the next two, Pat?
It is Scheffler, Rory, Cantlay, Wyndham Clark, Lowry, Akshay, Patrick Rogers, Jackson Super, and Wacky Valimaki are next.
What a list of names there.
Ooh.
Like, I'm just trying to find is like there's some sort of weird outlier guy that could pop here. Like Lee Hodges and JT Poston and Harry Hull are really the ones on that like next level down who do it right around 10% of the time, which for them to gain that much versus a field probably would have them be first round leader. I am shocked David Skins is not on this list, by the way. He must not be in the
Where's
field.
Ricky Barnes? Ricky Barnes would break that if he was still around.
In fairness, David Skins is tied with those Postons and Halls. He's right around 10% gaining that over the past 24 rounds in the first round. That might be all the rounds he's ever had over 5 strokes gain total. Just like, I think he's been a first round leader like 4 times in the past year or something. So,
hey, there's many ways to skins a cat. So do what you got to do.
Is there any like random dude that you can see? Like, do you have like just a gut feel random guy that you think does well in this tournament, at least for the first few days?
Doug Gim.
I mean, Doug Gibbs not random, man. He has like 2 top 20s at the Players. He's great. He's the Gim Reaper. People know the Gim Reaper.
What about
okay?
Seamus?
Seamus is interesting. Now we're talking.
I have him on the list of like real goblins that I might target.
Are there any other ones that you would be willing to share?
Well, I mean, it's the normal, like, obviously I have to look more into seeing if I can convince myself that Griot is alive and well. But I don't know. I looked at a couple of things this morning and Seamus, there's just something about his game that I think is unique. And when you have guys like that where obviously the putter hasn't been good and not to get, but there's some things there. And I do think he can compete in spurts at some of these. Obviously, huge step up, but I don't know. He is a real long shot that he might be on like my top 40 card or something.
He has made the cut at the Players 3 of the 4 years that he's played it, although he is currently in the worst putting stretch of his career at the moment. Although the ball striking is still pretty good. Very good from outside of 200 yards. Very good from inside 150, which I went and looked at the spread dynamics, like the bucket of approaches, Byron, at Sawgrass. There are very few shots from inside 125 yards here, which frankly shocked me.
Very few?
Yeah. Like it's a pretty even distribution. Like most of the like guys tend to lay up a little bit more to get in that like 140 range instead of anywhere risking getting up too close to the water. That it's like I'll hit 3-wood. I'm just as good from 138 as I am from 119 kind of thing, where I just don't need to bring the water into play. I just thought that was very interesting when I looked at the distribution.
Yeah, it is because I was seeing it the other way around, like a lot more happening from 125, at least just last year. So it's maybe over the last while, maybe they're getting a little bit more aggressive, but I do have a first round leader, absolute bottom of the barrel for you guys. Ooh. David Lipsky, 250 to 1. All right. If you go take a look at David Lipsky's approach numbers the last little while, golly, they are really, really, really impressive. And at Mexico, you're going to take a look at like his overall round. He lost like 4 or 5 strokes on approach on Sunday, but was gaining like 8 through the first 3 rounds. So the guy is just on a heater right now with the irons and plays these shorter courses quite nicely. So I'm going to be sprinkling a small little amount on David Lipsky there to potentially win $1,000 at 250 to 1.
If we're going to take guys, and this guy's a better player than Lipsky is, but his odds are super deep, and his approach play and his putting have both been off the charts good, Ben, it's Nikolai Højgaard.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys with guard in their name, they might need a separate tour because the guy on the who was that other guy on the other event?
Oh my God.
I've never heard of that one.
I have
Norgard Peterson.
Yeah, it was Norgard Peterson, but they were like Norgard was also in the tournament too. But Norgard Peterson makes this run at Puerto Rico. What do you make, Byron? 7 birdies in a row. I'm sitting here with a 3-stroke lead with Phillips after the 10th hole, being like, this is amazing. It's a sweat-free 80 to 1 winner. Sign me up for this. Then all of a sudden, because I'm embarrassed to say how much time I spent looking at the leaderboard of Puerto Rico that doesn't update in real time, doesn't have shot tracker, just waiting for something to happen to it that hopefully would be positive in my favor. And it happened with Phillips when he eagled the 6th hole. And it took like 42 minutes to update. And I was like, oh God, eagle, this is fantastic news. But all of a sudden, Norgard Peterson was playing real time on the leaderboard, just birdie, 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 birdie. And I almost had a mini panic attack, Byron.
Yeah. Well, isn't that just the profile of what we do betting on golf is like everything could go be perfectly fine. Your guy's playing some good golf and someone totally random just goes nuts. And 7 birdies in a row. I mean, I wonder what the record is for the tour. I mean, Keegan Bradley went and shot course record 29 to start off the beginning of the Sunday. So like any given day, anybody can do anything. It's the players this week. Let's lean into that.
Tour record for birdies made in a row. I feel like it's like Ted Potter Jr. It is Mark Calcavecchia in the second round at the Canadian Open in 2009. He had 9. And there's 7 guys who have done that before.
Wow. Obviously not on like hole 1 through 9. Otherwise, that would have been the best 9 ever, right?
Yes, it was probably as a wraparound. Let's see. Kevin Chappell did it at the Greenbrier in 2019. It's a second Kevin Chappell reference of the Players Championship string of shows, Ben. Remember Kevin Chappell?
Oh, do I remember Kevin? Yeah, Kevin Chappell. Simpler times when I used to be able to play him. But yeah, Hogard's striking it. JJ Spawn is another guy in the same bucket of like type of hit. If we're talking for like real, off the wall guys really hitting it with the irons. But yeah.
Like, what do you do with those guys this week, though, Byron? Because I like both those guys. Like, Spawn is 3rd in approach over the past 24 rounds. And then you have Nikolai Højgaard, who's up there as well. When you look at, he's number 2 over that same time span. Like, Justin Thomas is number 1. Straka, who I did bet on to win, is at number 5. Damon and Gim are at 6 and 7. Nick Taylor, Scottie, Fleetwood. Then you start getting into like your bigger names. But none of these guys hit fairways, and that really concerns me. Should it?
It is concerning. Have you like filtered on less than 7,200 yard courses on Fantasy National there? Because, like that's what David Lipsky does quite well. He's not a very good driver of the ball, but gains a lot of strokes on these shorter courses because they're good long iron players, right? So the good long iron players translate to the shorter courses because they can hit the 3 irons instead of the drivers. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword there that you can lean into a bit if you're in the mood.
Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, the fairways actually go way up for Spawn on courses like this. They get even worse for Nick Dunlap. Poor Nick Dunlap. We'll see what Nikolai is up to. Nikolai Højgaard is... No, they're just as bad.
Okay, yeah. Well, then if that checks out, then you can kind of maybe move him off your list a little bit. But I will throw out Chad Ramey and Tom Hoagie also in the 100 ranges there. 120 to 1 and 150 to 1 on some books there. So
Hoagie, is that for first round later?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hoagie. I mean, Hoagie has the course record here, I believe.
Yes. And didn't he like start the Hawaii swing with back-to-back first round leads or something? So he's primed for a good round 1 again, I think.
I feel so bad for him that he didn't get his win last year during his absolute heater from basically this time last year through the summer, and then his driving just went away. He was gaining off the tee every week, and now he's reverted back to a guy who legit can't drive the ball.
Yeah. I think he's driving minivans now, right? He's got a kid. So it's like, I understand what happens to him in round 4. Trust me. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it was easier to keep your composure when you were at the casino every single night like Tom Hoagie was. He's like, oh, I got a top 10 paycheck coming. Let's hit the craps table at Crooked Stick next to the course. Ben, this popped into my mind when I was watching Puerto Rico, and because it was on Golf Channel, so they had the scroll of all the other tours. And I feel bad that I equated this with Michael Kim in my mind, that I'm betting Michael Kim top 20. I bet him outright in some tournaments. Like I bet him to win Honda, and he couldn't quite get across the finish line. He's been so close. And obviously he's a better quality player, and the results have actually been better. But on the bottom of the screen, there was a Corn Ferry event in, I believe, Chile this week. It may have been in Argentina. It was somewhere in South America.
Stanley?
No, there was a name that popped up. He was like T12 in the 4th round at this Corn Ferry event. I was like, oh my God, this guy once had a 6-week stretch on the PGA Tour where he was like 45 to 1 in tournaments, and I think that I bet him at those tournaments. Do you know who the player is?
Is he like an older, like Scott Piercy?
I don't know how old he is. It's Hammerin' Hank Libiota.
Yeah, see, the Florida State contingent, he's like 50. Him and Chase Seifert, I just put out of my mind permanently. Yeah, He had his run. It's amazing how many guys have a run where you can legitimately argue they're playing top 10 in the world golf for a month or 2 months. The problem is, I think that's what separates Byron, infinitely more than me because I don't play golf. But like to me, what always separated the best players was that when they don't have it, they don't shoot 79, they shoot 73. And for a month when they don't have it, they come in 33rd. They don't just miss the cut every single week.
Amen. But I think Hank's dad had some health issues at some point, and then that's when his game went backwards. So hopefully his dad's figured it out. I don't know what's happened with his dad there, but I think, mental clarity is probably one of the most important things in golf. And like, I think Scottie Scheffler, Ben, to your point, is the absolute epitome of this. He was acting like a little kid on the greens over the weekend and still finished 13th, So, yeah, you got to have your pips screwed on straight.
Hank Lebioda. Yeah, I would have been here for quite a while before I got that name.
From May 16th, 2021 through July 11th, 2021. He was 17th at the Byron Nelson, 31st at the Palmetto. That was the tournament that Garrick Higo won. He beat Hatton in his first start over in America. That was a great day. 5th at the Travelers, 4th at the Rocket Mortgage, 8th at the John Deere, then missed eight consecutive cuts after that. And now he's playing in Chile.
He'll beat Kyle Stanley by about 30 strokes. I scrolled to the bottom of that leaderboard, and my friend Kyle Stanley was down there.
Oh, poor guy. He should go try to qualify for Live.
Yeah, that's the move.
Well, you kind of hit on it with guys that don't quite have their best stuff right now, and to see what they're doing. And Xander was the name that kind of stuck out to me, Byron. He had a really nice Sunday. It was the chipping and putting that were the problem with him. I just refreshed the odds page as we're doing this. He's down to 30-1 in some spots right now. Like, is there a number where, hey, you're not really believing it because he's coming off a rib injury, he's played in one start, and it didn't go very well, although he did still end up making the cut. But most of his issues were chipping and putting related, not ball striking related. Do you just blindly bet that at some point?
Yeah, what is the number? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And what other bets have you made? Because if you just take a look at a model for the last 24 rounds, I mean, the guys, or maybe 36, he'll be top and it'll make total sense. But we all know that he's a little rusty. But the thing with chipping and putting is that could be one or two chips that he just chunked and completely rectified overnight. And maybe Sawgrass is a little easier to chip around. You can hit a few more putts here and there than actually having to hack it out that thick rough at Bay Hill. I think I don't mind it, Pat. Maybe DFS, bit more leniency on my side for Xander there, but it's up to your risk tolerance there. I think that's a really fancy number.
Well, Xander right now is going to have longer top 10 odds, Ben, than both Morikawa and Ludwig, who we talked about. Obviously, you inherit more risk, but this is already a risky tournament.
Yeah, there is something. If I was going to do something with Xander, I'd probably try to really up the risk profile, because I think where the numbers being impacted the most is in the outright market. And if the rust comes in, I don't want a top 20 or a top 40 per se. Because I mean, I know you can't really equate this, but if you look at his numbers for the majors, you're not going to find better than 15-1 at any of them. And if you're telling me there's 30-1 out there, that's something I will blindly potentially entertain.
On the site that I'm looking at right now, Byron, he has the same odds as Russell Henley.
Yeah, what?
Prolific runner, Russell Henley, though, so you got to understand that you're only as good as your last game. And it makes sense, though. It makes sense. I think people are just scared to bet him.
Where is the Russell Henley to miss the cut market? Plus 225, Ben. Can I interest you in that?
Always. Especially here. I mean, you're going to see names miss the cut. It's just as simple as that. I don't know who it's going to be, but all it takes is a couple of unlucky bounces and you're toast. So yes, you could interest me in a good miss the cut on almost any of the big players.
You say watching the golf will tell you some different things than the data will actually show you when you look at it on a spreadsheet. Don't tell that to Russell Henley backers, because the data finally came through for them a week ago, Byron. But something seemed, it wasn't just the putting with Scheffler that seemed off. His irons were bad at Bay Hill.
Yeah. He laid up on that 13th hole, hit his ball with the wedge short in the water. Scottie Scheffler, his elite trait, he's got a lot, but what he does the absolute best is avoid dumb mistakes like that. He's been making a couple, sailing wedges long over greens. I think he's thrown off. The hand injury has definitely thrown off his vibe. These people are creatures of habit. They have their ramp up period coming into the year. You take a few weeks off here and there. His whole mojo is different. Like you don't see him acting like that often on a golf course that he's played incredible golf on. He's ultra comfortable out there. Something's up. So I think, if you come at the king, you bet not miss. And I think the king's missing a lot right now. So you can probably make something happen there.
A friendly reminder that there are 3 amazing contests on Underdog right now for best ball golf drafts, all starting at the Masters, the Albatross, the Scramble Returns, and the Big Albatross. 500K, 250K, and 200K prize pools for each of those tournaments. And if you wait a week or so, you're going to see 2 more pop up in the Pat Mayo Experience drafts, one for majors only and one from the Masters until the British Open. So there are 2 great ones, and those ones are going to be rake free. What you need to do in order to draft as many teams as possible, along with just watching the content, because I'll have strategy shows for all of this stuff, is use code Mayo at Underdog right now and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. The best part is you can use those bonus funds to do your drafts, then you can use the rest of it for pick'em, and you'll get a free pick for the Players Championship this week. Code Mayo at Underdog right now, okay? I will have the official Pat Mayo Experience Underdog Pick'em play on the Wednesday show with Tambo at 9 a.m. Eastern Time live. You can always catch it on replay. I might even do a live chat on Wednesday night on Mayo Media Network. So make sure that you're subbed and leave your favorite bet in the comment section if you want to get into that draw for $500 and retweet the article to get in the $200 draw. 2 separate draws. Get in both of them. Why not, right? Takes less than 10 seconds. But Byron, have you looked at all at the new best ball contests that are starting at the Masters on Underdog yet? Have you done the deep dive?
Yes, I've got the Dog Dominator out there for the schedules and all that jazz. I'll be updating some ADP stuff for you guys in that department. So as you're drafting along, you can kind of see how the guys play in each different tournament for your top 10 dudes. It's a different situation, Pat, because it's a smaller sample of events that end at the Open, right? So the 2 different tournaments as well. The Scramble Returns is all the events, and then the major one is just got all 4 majors. So I'm curious how you kind of changing your strategy between the 2 different types of tournaments there.
Use code Mayo at Underdog right now. Get that deposit bonus of up to $1,000. With those bonus funds, you can do all of these drafts, and I'll have exclusive Pat Mayo Experience rake-free contests for both these contests dropping soon. But I do think it is advantageous, Byron, to play in like the $3 ones and just get a sense of where people are going and develop a strategy that way. I think that is something that not enough people do, is take on the lower stakes drafts and figure out a strategy before you start pumping money into the ones that have $500,000 in the prize pool.
Absolutely. Get a feel for ADP, get a feel for clicking, because you've only got 30 seconds and there's only 6 people in the draft. So if you're on the snake end, on the one side and the 6 side, you got to make 2 picks in the space of 60 seconds. If you don't have your stuff together, you're going to be frantically clicking the wrong names. So be sure that you have a game plan, know some, do some research and some homework so you can feel comfortable about who you're going for in certain price ranges and combinations of golfers that can kind of complement each other.
Ben, I'm going to have my full master list of what players are playing in what majors for the major-only draft dropping next week. But I was curious, do you care about PGA Best Ball? Because I found it to be a tremendous amount of fun at the beginning of the year. I can't wait to do these drafts again.
So it's funny, best ball in general is something I never really ventured in, and I got hooked on some NFL playoff best ball, and now I'm all about it. And you mentioned, if you're doing some even preliminary research, you're ahead of people in your draft who are going on the fly, and they can't possibly react fast enough to some of these things. So there are edges on Underdog and whatnot, and it is on top of potentially lucrative. It's just a lot of fun. So it's just another cool format with golf.
Yeah, Byron, my single favorite thing to do is at the beginning of all of the drafts. I'll always have a rotation of, let's say, it's like 5 to 10 players that I just want to target some combination of them with my last 2 picks. But I don't find drafting guys at an ADP really matters at all, because the ADP is really bad for these tournaments. Because as you said, people are just kind of clicking names and they get panicked that they don't give you a true representation of everything. Just put those 10 guys in my queue to begin with. So if I ever am pinched for a decision, I just click one of those names and try to regroup.
That makes complete sense. And you can reverse engineer these drafts. So because it's not like an NFL draft with like 12 people and 20 picks, you've only got 6 people with 10 picks. You can reverse engineer this. Most of the people that you have on the back end aren't getting drafted anyway. So you can absolutely do that. And then you can figure out who you want to target in the first 5 picks to complement the back end of your draft. That's a really smart way to go about it, Pat. I do believe so.
So I'll have the cheat sheet rankings. I'm guessing that you and I will do a show on that in the upcoming few weeks or so. I haven't told you about that yet, but we're going to do that. How does that sound?
Done. Let's
Perfect. Bronze picks for the Players' Championship. I will lead it off with the name that I mentioned earlier. He's $5,100 on DraftKings this week. When I read out the names of guys who are currently trending in the top 10 of Approach, his name is there. He wears a goofy bucket hat. He's the star, or one of the stars, of the Netflix show First Swing, or First Drive, or whatever the hell it's called, along with Byron, who's also in it, Full Swing. Joel Damon, top 30, Ben, 3-1.
Yeah, Lord Raiden, my man. So never gonna. You mentioned and this is more of a DFS mindset, but I think it's applicable to betting. When you go to the bottom end of these ranges, I would rather take a golfer that does one thing at an elite level than a guy that's just like average at all 4 things, because he can let his irons carry him for 4 days. You can't do it for the whole year, but when you have a guy with that skill set or crazy putter, you're not going to get all of it, but at least he has one thing. And I think that he's shown time and time again, those are not just good numbers, those are world-class approach numbers.
What do you make of it, Byron?
He's a very underrated ball striker overall, and on courses like this, even when Joel wasn't playing the greatest golf, T12 here in 2019, T11 here last year, the driver is what he does best is accuracy, right? So that's going to be all day, and the irons are just scintillating. So like Ben said, and we've seen the putter starting to get since Joel started doing this Navy SEAL training, he's turned into a complete sniper on the greens. He's just holding putts from 70 feet in Mexico. And then Cognizant is doing the same thing again. So he's absolutely live to have another spike performance. And a top 30 seems like a very safe option too. I wouldn't mind sneaking in the top 10 there as well, with a little ladder action.
I see. Is he someone to ladder up, do you think? You probably won't be able to find too many to make the cut odds for him, but go top 40, top 30, top 20, top 10, top 5. Or even instead of doing the top 10, top 5, I would probably do that outright bet on him to win with the top 8 each way, which would just be less money for a much bigger payout.
Boom. That's the way to go. I think you just limit your exposure, increase the upside there that you can find, and then you still got that top 30 to kind of pocket if he doesn't quite top 10 there.
All right, Ben, we'll go to you. What is this outrageous? You've teased it the entire show. What is this bet for your bronze pick?
It's not even that outrageous. It's just stupid would be the word that comes to mind. So I looked at the nationality, some of the regions, and they had top South Korean. And I was debating it, and I was looking at Ben-An, and he was sitting at 4-1. And then I looked at top Asian market, and he's 8-1. And yes, you have to get Hideki. You have to get past him. But other than that, there's not that many additional players that I'm worried about. I'm going to take a shot with Ben-An at plus 800 to be the top Asian. Now, Sunjae, Siwoo, Tom Kim, these are names. There's no doubt. He did flip the irons, which is step 1. He had been awful for about a month straight, and he was awesome at API. It was more of a classic Ben-An style. He didn't do much with the short game, but the ball striking was there. Off the tee's been good, consistently good for him. And he's my guy, and I think he's kind of overpriced in the DFS market, so I need some exposure somewhere. Plus 800. There's some names, but I'll take that price.
Ben-An is, I didn't even see him on this list. Did I miss him? Oh, there he is. He's 100-1 to win this tournament. How do you feel about him first round leader, Byron?
I don't necessarily see him popping up that often, but I mean, if he's 100-1 to win the tournament, he's probably in the same range for first round leader. So if we just throwing a bunch of triple digits on the card, why not throw Ben-An in there especially? We all know that the putter is hot and cold, so maybe he just gets hot in round 1 and then cold thereafter. He can always chip in a couple birdies or eagles on par 5s, things like that. A lot of these shorter drivable holes that he could maybe find himself working on that magic there. I don't mind it, Pat. Don't mind at all.
Ben-An. So, Ben, you're not sweating, besides Hideki, you're just not sweating Ryo Hisatune or anything?
No, I mean, this will be peak everything is that he'll beat Decky, and then he'll lose to CT Pan. It's just great, fantastic. But you know what? It's the type of guy I honestly wanted to increase the margins because most likely if Benny doesn't have it, there's not going to be any market where he's cashing anything. So if you're going to give me plus 800, I can lower my exposure to it and still have some upside.
You can go first round leader by category. You can go first round leader, low Asian Ben and plus 650. This would be the market to take. Like
I didn't even know that was a market.
Oh, yeah.
That's advanced.
These are markets.
First round leader. What?
Oh yeah, first round leader by nationality. If you can go first round leader, low Argentinian, you can get Toasty versus Griot on your card if you want to.
Oh my god.
That's obscene. I like that.
That's real degen
That
action
is some
here.
degenerate
Oh,
stuff.
so you know what? That's actually where I might bet Matty Schmidt versus Jaeger. I'll bet Schmidt even money over Jaeger in the first round low German market.
God damn. God bless your soul, Pat.
One more pick to fill out the old square that I have written down, Byron. What is your bronze pick?
All right, boys. So it's a little ladder action, but I'll start off with, if you're looking for ties paid in full or you want to go with the dead heats, you know, the numbers will change, but we'll just go with the ties paid in full on Bet 365. Justin Rose to finish top 10 plus 800. I'm looking to take down the longest bet cashed on the show. I believe it's 9-1. If you go without the ties paid in full, you can get a 10-1 out there. You can ladder that 18-1, 25-1, depending on the ties paid in full for a top 5. And then Justin Rose to win this tournament, 120-1. Take a look at what Justin Rose has been up to. T8 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, crushed it on approach. Putter's been on fuego for the last 3 tournaments since the third place finish at the Pebble Beach Championship, right? So he's played well on a short course that he's played well in the past. Then you take a look at Justin Rose's players' history. 6th in 2023, 4th in 2014, 8th in 2019. So he's got some spike potential at a golf course like this. This guy's been playing the Players' Championship since 2003. So that's quite incredible on its own merit there. And he's playing some really good golf right now. It's a Ryder Cup year. The guy's motivated, playing good golf. The irons are rocking, rolling. This only ultimately ends in a total miscut, but I fancy his chances at these odds.
I like it. So those are the best bets. Mine are Nick Taylor, top 20 at plus 375. Michael Kim, top 20, plus 300. And then you have Joel Damon, top 30 at 3-1 as well. Byron, your gold is Doug Gim, the Gim Reaper, top 40, plus 140. Ludwig, plus 210, top 10. Justin Rose, you said top 10, right?
Top 10.
Top 10, 8-1. Ben, you got Finau, top 20, plus 260. Ludwig, just like Byron, as your silver pick, plus 210 to be inside the top 10. Ben and top Asian, 8-1. That sound good to everyone?
That's good.
All right, I like
Let's
this.
not forget your first round nationality, first round leader versus Bob's auntie's uncle market.
Yes,
that you have there, Pat.
Matty Schmidt over Steven Jaeger. I might just try to find a Steven Jaeger to miss the cut prop too. Although they don't normally go down the board on the to make the cut, miss the cut props on guys that are real fringy to make the cut in the first place. They don't love doing that. Only at the Masters can you find like the full palette of players to miss and make the cut unless you go specifically request someone for that. I did want to ask you guys, who are you betting outright, do you think, for this tournament? Because so far I'm in on Ludwig, Straka, and Nick Taylor, and that's it. Although, if I keep seeing the Xander number move down, I kind of have to do it, I feel like.
Yeah. I'm on Nick Taylor with you there, Pat. And then I'm eyeing out a Hideki 33-1. I mean, this guy's track record here has been incredible, so I might be pulling the trigger on that once these tee times come out, hopefully soon.
Ben?
I'm probably going to join you on Ludwig. I just like him all around here. Maybe I'll put Fleetwood on there. And speaking of bad ideas, I'm probably going to end up betting Berger at 65-1. He quietly is just right there. I like the course. There's some splits. 65 is a number. I'm pretty content with that.
I just wanted the number to be big. His DraftKings price is outrageous, by the way.
Which direction? I don't even know.
It's $9,600.
Yeah, see, that's disturbing on several fronts.
He is, let's see, Daniel Berger is $100 more than Russell Henley.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
No.
But 60...
They overreacted a little bit after the Cognizant and stuff, and then
Henley...
Because when did they drop these odds? Yeah,
these came out the Thursday, so before API we had any information on that. But Berger choked away the Cognizant too. He had a terrible final round.
Yeah.
I actually like him. Maybe first round leader is a look for Daniel Berger. What do you guys think about that?
If you don't think a guy can win, you just throw him in that first round leader bucket and then just call it a day.
Like the amount of like losers I've bet on, Ben, who I'm like, oh my God, I got them at 170 to 1 and they're the first round leader and don't even finish inside the top 20 is astronomical. So maybe that's what I should just start doing.
Oh yeah. I do that all the time. And half the time I am like an idiot. I really need to start looking earlier because on Thursday, I'm just sweating a first round leader ticket that I don't have. It's an outright. And so I'm like, oh, I've got it. And then it's just not even a real bet. I need to do a better job of separating those for my mental health.
All right. So let's see here. What else do I got? I think that's it for everything we need to do on the show. Cut Sweat Live is coming on Friday to Mayo Media Network. It's going to be live. Byron, you're going to jump on with me?
Yes, I'll commit to a second show live. Pat, let's rock and roll, man.
All right,
Have a good one.
Yeah, we'll do that. Ben, are you going to be kicking around, do you think?
Maybe around. I have to look at my Fridays are always a little weird, but you know what? If I'm around, why? Like I said, Fridays for the players. That's the last day of the tournament for me, most likely. So I better soak it up. Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, I think that's the move. We'll try to get, because Jeff and Tim are both away, so I'm going to bring on the entire crew to help out this time around. Code Mayo at Underdog. That will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. Plus, it'll get you a free pick in the Pick'em game for the Players' Championship as well. So I would recommend that you go do that right now. Additionally, if you leave the comment with your favorite bet of the week and sub to Mayo Media Network, you get into a draw for $500 cash. If you subscribe to the Apple podcast or the Spotify podcast or both, leave the 5-star reviews up there. Those are additional ballots in the $500 draw. And if you go to X right now or go to the newsletter and share that around, that is a $200 draw. And I'll be giving away the winners on next Monday's show with Jeff Feinberg. That'll do it for me. That'll do it for Ben and Byron. I hope you all have a very profitable Players' Championship, and I shall see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!